Welcome to the Learn and Listen podcast, where we explore exciting topics while helping you improve your English. I'm Sarah, and with me is my co-host, Mike.
Hello, everyone. It's wonderful to be here with you today. We have a very important topic that affects all of us in our daily lives, internet safety tips. Are you ready to learn how to stay safe online while boosting your English skills?
Absolutely, Mike. But before we dive into our main content, here's a question for our listeners. Have you ever encountered a situation online that made you feel uncomfortable or unsafe? Take a moment to think about it and feel free to share your experiences in the comments below.
That's a great question to ponder, Sarah. Now, let's start with our first tip. When you're online, it's essential to protect your personal information. Sarah, can you explain what personal information means?
Of course, Mike. Personal information refers to details about yourself that could be used to identify you. This includes your full name, your address, your phone number, and even your birthday. It's crucial to keep this information private.
Excellent explanation, Sarah. So, our first tip is, be cautious about sharing personal information online. Only provide it on secure websites that you trust.
That's right, Mike. And speaking of trust, let's talk about our second tip. Be wary of strangers online, just like in the real world. Not everyone on the internet has good intentions.
Absolutely. It's important to remember that people online might not always be who they claim to be. Sarah, can you give us a useful phrase related to this?
Sure. A common expression in English is, don't judge a book by its cover. In the context of internet safety, we could say, don't trust a profile by its picture. This means you shouldn't assume someone is trustworthy just because of how they present themselves online.
That's a great phrase, Sarah. Now, let's move on to our third tip. Use strong passwords. Can you explain what we mean by a strong password?
Certainly, a strong password is one that's difficult for others to guess or for computers to crack. It usually includes a mix of uppercase and lowercase letters, numbers, and symbols. For example, instead of using a simple password like password 123, you could use something like S at VDF, 1RST.
Excellent example, Sarah. Remember, listeners, never use the same password for multiple accounts. It's like using the same key for your house, car, and office. If someone gets that one key, they can access everything.
That's a great analogy, Mike. Now, let's talk about our fourth tip. Be careful what you click on. Many online threats come from harmful links or attachments.
Absolutely, Sarah. It's crucial to be cautious about the links you click and the files you download. Can you teach us a useful verb related to this?
Sure. The verb to scrutinize means to examine something very carefully. So we could say, always scrutinize links and attachments before clicking on them. This means you should look closely and think carefully before interacting with anything unfamiliar online.
That's a great word, Sarah. Our final tip for today is keep your software and apps updated. Regular updates often include important security fixes.
Exactly, Mike. Think of these updates like reinforcing the locks on your doors. They help keep the bad guys out.
Well said, Sarah. Now, let's take a short break to let our listeners process this information. We'll be right back with a review of our tips and an exciting challenge.
Welcome back, everyone. We hope you've had a chance to think about the tips we've discussed so far. Now, let's do a quick review. Mike, would you like to summarize our tips for our listeners?
Of course, Sarah. Here are our 5 internet safety tips.
Excellent summary, Mike. And now for our interactive element. We have a challenge for our listeners. We want you to create a strong, unique password using the tips we discussed today. Remember, don't share your actual password, but tell us in the comments how you applied our advice.
That's a great challenge, Sarah. We're really looking forward to hearing how our listeners approach this task. Remember, everyone, staying safe online is an ongoing process, but with these tips, you're well on your way to a safer internet experience.
Absolutely, Mike. And as always, by engaging with these important topics, you're not just learning about internet safety, you're also improving your English skills.
That's right, Sarah. Before we go, let's remind our listeners to practice using the new vocabulary we learned today. Words like scrutinize and phrases like don't trust a profile by its picture can really enhance your English conversations.
Great point, Mike. Thank you all for listening to the Learn and Listen podcast. We hope you found this episode both educational and enjoyable. Until next time, stay safe and keep learning.
Goodbye, everyone. We look forward to seeing you in our next episode.